Hi, beautiful. Welcome back. My parakeets are being really talkative. I'm sorry. So if you hear that in the background, no, there's not birds in your house. It's these wild little rescue birds that I have living in my office. I should probably find somewhere else to record or somewhere else for them to live. But for right now, enjoy the background noise. So I'm still reading in chapter 13, and I'm reading in the section of the peace of heaven. And it's really interesting because I had an experience recently that mirrors exactly what's in here. And I've read this before, but I didn't remember, at least not consciously, that it said this right in here. Because a couple days ago, I got this intuition that something bad was going to happen, bad to my ego, and to remember that it had no meaning. And that as I remembered that it had no meaning and that it wasn't real, that it would be meaningless and it wouldn't be able to bother me at all. And it was so strange because that day I had a couple things happen where I could have really lost my cool, but instead I was like, well, it isn't real. If it's not love, it isn't real, because only love is real. And so this is meaningless. And I literally just like let it go like that. So easy. It was almost kind of weird. At the end of the day, I was like, could I just be always doing this? Could I just like be at peace and happy every single day because I just don't respond or react to things that aren't real? And then as I'm reading in here in the peace of heaven, it says, if he could but realize the war is between real and unreal powers, he could look upon himself and see his freedom. No one finds himself ravaged and torn in endless battles if he perceives them as wholly without meaning. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what Spirit was helping me to understand the other day. God would not have his son embattled. And so his son's imagined enemy is totally unreal. You are but trying to escape a bitter war from which you have escaped. The war is gone. Wow. Love has already won. Okay, look into my eyes. Or if you're listening to this in the car and you can't, that's okay too. Just listen to my voice. Listen. The war's gone. The war's over. Love has already won. You are already at peace. Your ego isn't, but your ego is not real and it's meaningless. I know this sounds really wild, especially if you're still in that tornado a little bit. I like to look at it this way. If I stay in the eye of the storm, they say in the middle of a tornado, it's perfectly peaceful. In the eye of the storm, it's just quiet and peaceful. But when you get caught up in the tornado, you're getting whipped around. And there's no way you're going to believe that you're safe. There's no way you're going to believe that everything's okay. But when you get centered and you're back in the eye, you're like, oh, everything's fine, actually. Now, that's a very imperfect metaphor because I would never want to be hanging out in the eye of a storm. And yet, sometimes we forget that we have this perfect, loving, peaceful truth, our true self. Sometimes when I'm meditating and I sit down and I'm feeling like all kinds of stressed because I was just hanging out with someone who was struggling and I picked up some of their anxiety, or I had some negative thoughts and worries creep up, and I sit down on my meditation cushion feeling like, wow, I feel really heavy, I feel really dense, I feel terrible. I don't even want to meditate because I don't want to sit with myself. I don't want to sit with these feelings. I want to go distract myself. I want to go, find something to do, read a book or social media, like anything other than be with myself. But as I sit there on the cushion, sometimes I hear like internally this voice saying, I'm here. I'm right here. And I'm all, whoa, what is this? And I follow that and it's like, it's me. It's the real me. She's like going out to my, like the fragmented or lost aspects of my psyche and like calling them home. And then when I connect that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here. I'm here. It's okay. Wow. I haven't fully mastered it where I can do that all the time. I can do it sitting in my quiet office. Well, it's not quiet anymore since I rescued 3 parakeets. But I can do that while I'm sitting in my office, and sometimes I have a hard time doing that while I'm walking around, interacting with people in my day-to-day life, because I get triggered by things they say or do. I absolutely am so in love with these words. If he could but realize the wars between real and unreal powers, he could look upon himself and see his freedom. So this is radical, super radical, but I invite you to experiment with this all day today, all day, the rest of the day, rest of the week. Anytime something comes into your awareness that isn't love, just immediately dismiss it and say, well, it isn't real, so it's meaningless. It isn't real, and so it is meaningless. Love has already won. This is your escape from the nightmare. It seems too easy to be real. Here's the wild thing. The most beautiful and effective truths are so simple and so easy that the ego rejects them because they're not complicated and hard enough. I've seen this in myself where I'm like, I would rather climb to the top of a mountain, circle it 3 times, with making some weird chant, banging a drum, do some kind of ritual. I'd rather do that than just sit and be still and know the truth. Because to sit and be still and to know the truth just seems too simple, too easy. To just recognize, oh, if it's not love, it's not real, because only love is real, and go on with your day. This doesn't mean we're not going to have a human experience. We're all going to die. The human body is going to die. The people we love are going to die. Our pets are going to die. Spoiler. And that's okay. Because Earth School wasn't meant to be forever. Earth School was meant to be, a few semesters. But we can have fun while we're here. We can learn through love. We can let love light our path and joy be our compass. We don't have to be here being terrified all the time, being so afraid, being so worried. Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Okay, well, if it happens, then it happens. If it happens, then it was part of your curriculum. We can handle it. We can handle it. And you might be in a master's level program right now. You're probably not in preschool. If you're doing A Course in Miracles, you're probably going for your master's. You're probably not trying to graduate kindergarten anymore. So things are going to come up. They're going to challenge you. See that as a blessing and a gift. Because you're ready for it. We're not asking for problems. In truth, there are no problems. The irony is that the course, your finals are to recognize there's no problem. And it's not even a problem that Earth School is temporary. It's a blessing. Doesn't mean we shouldn't enjoy it and love it and get the most out of it and squeeze all the juice out of it that we can while we're here. And it's okay. That the only constant is change. Once you start feeling safe, change is a delight. It's the spice of life. It stops being a curse. The ego, the scared human creature, can feel like, I don't want any change in my environment. I want to stay the same. I'm scared. But the soul is so indomitable, so full of life, so courageous, that it has absolutely no problem with change. Connect with that aspect of your being and trust the flow. Because then you can get in that raft and you can float the river and you can enjoy it when the river's really chill and you're just laying there enjoying the sunshine, and you can have fun when you hit the rapids, when the people pay money to go float on white water, to do whitewater rafting. People pay money for that. It's a thrill. And when we get in touch with our true self, the peaceful times, we stop feeling like they're boring and we start feeling like they're blissful. And then the exciting times, we stop seeing them as a problem or persecution. We start seeing them as a really fun and exciting challenge. And it's all good. when I was more embedded in my ego, when I was more ego identified, if things were really peaceful, I felt bored. And if things were really challenging, I felt persecuted and miserable. So like, it was lose-lose. When you're ego identified, you don't get to be happy. When you are soul identified, you get to be happy all the time. Because you learn to enjoy balmy weather. If you're the mighty captain of your own life, of your ship, you learn to enjoy the balmy weather where you're like, oh, there's no wind. We're just going to relax and enjoy this balmy weather. And you learn to enjoy it when there's a lot of wind, maybe even a storm, because you are a mighty captain. You can sail the ship. You're not relying on the ocean to behave. You're relying on your own indomitable self to get you through the storm. Everything that you're going through now is to prepare you for something greater. And you're the prize. You're the prize. You are going to fall so deeply in love with yourself and everyone else that you are going to praise and be grateful for every hardship you've ever experienced. Because it brought you here. It brought you here to the altar within your own heart. Thank you for listening. I love you so much. Let's have fun this holiday season. You might be listening to this later in the year and it's not the holidays, but let's have fun, whatever season you're in, whatever's going on in your life. Let's have fun with it. No one's getting out of here alive. We can be miserable. In A Course in Miracles, it says you can either be hostage to ego or host to God. If you are hostage to ego, you will be miserable. If you are a host to God, you are going to have so much fun. I promise you that. Doesn't mean you're not going to cry. Doesn't mean you're not going to have tough days. That's part of the fun. I love you so much. Talk to you soon. Mwah.